What's up, everyone, and welcome to That Game Rules, my subpar retro podcast, where every week we break down an old retro game and all the pop culture that surrounds it. You heard it right off the bat there. We're talking Super Mario Brothers 2 today. That's some great, amazing music you're hearing there. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of mix-up of the music in this game, but you recognize it. I'm your host, Scuba Steve. Thanks for listening. What do I got to say about Super Mario Brothers 2? A lot. There's a lot of history behind this game. A lot of people know about the situation with this game with Nintendo back then and releasing this game and the history with this and Lost Levels and Doki Doki Panic, and we're going to get into all of that today. We're going to talk about all these levels, all this gameplay. It's going to be any episode I'm talking about Mario, I'm going to have a good time, so I hope you guys do too. If you're new here, every week we talk about a whole bunch of retro stuff, not just this game. I'm talking movies, shows, toys. Eventually we'll talk about the game, and I'm going to talk about the artwork, the music. We're going to talk the manual. We're going to check out some Nintendo Power magazines today, and go over a whole bunch of other stuff. There's words for you. And then finally, we'll give this game some awards, slap a ranking on it, call it a show. It has been a crazy busy summer, but we're going to keep it going. If you guys want to get a hold of me, email the show, thatgamerules@gmail.com, and let's just talk about whatever. Video games, movies, anything but sports. Not really a big sports guy. Sign up for the newsletter at thatgamerules.com and check out some upcoming episodes. And other than that, we're going to get right into it. Let's talk about what I've been up to playing Mario. I played the original. The All-Stars version looks super sweet. I love all the All-Star versions, or at least, Super Mario All-Stars itself with all those remix games. But I had to go original. You got to play the old school if you're going to talk about the retro game. Maybe we'll talk Mario All-Stars down the road someday. So I played the original, the OG, and she's a tough one. It's got some challenge to it. It's still fun, but it's still your old NES platform. We're going to be memorizing where some things are and some enemies and things like that. The difference between, playing a game last week like Zelda, Minish Cap, and a platformer like this, in terms of like progression and kind of your overall sense of accomplishment with these games, it can be different when you're playing like a long play, like an RPG, or, like Zelda, for example. When you die, you're not game overing and starting over. So the progression as you make it through, your dungeons and you're getting new items, beating those bosses, those kind of give you those sense of accomplishment as you go. The main real sense of accomplishment in these kind of old platformers is just making it through like the whole game. And when you game over in this one, it puts you all the way back at the beginning. It gives you a few continues that get you to, continue at the beginning of the world you died at. But other than that, you make it through these old platformers all the way to the end, and that's your sense of accomplishment. It's beating that final boss, without having to, game over or start over or any kind of metrics you set for yourself when you play these games, or maybe you just wanted to make it past that one World 4 part that was bugging you for like a whole week. Maybe you make it past that and you die in game over right there, but you've got that sense of accomplishment from making it like past that tough part you wanted to. So just differences there that I feel like, that little dopamine fix when you're playing these games. If you guys are listening to this like live or currently, happy Labor Day to anyone. I think that was yesterday as far as when this episode airs, and for me that means back to school for all these kids I got around here. So again, it's been busy there, but I work days, so it's not like them being at school really affects me at all, besides they're doing stuff, not just sitting around at home while I'm at work. So gaming memories for me specifically, Super Mario Brothers 2 is just one of those. Definitely owned it, sitting in the basement, taking turns with my sister. It's not, this isn't a two-player game, but it still plays like a two-player game, since you can kind of pick your character at the beginning of each level, and, you can kind of just swap controllers that way. You do your old sibling swap, Do we play till the end of the level, or do we play till someone dies, and those kind of things? Or Depends on if you're unplugging your sister's controller and making her die just because it's fun for you or anything like that. So I was definitely in the basement cranking out this game. And like with most games I think of from my childhood, I've got those first couple of levels memorized because as a kid, you're just playing those first couple of levels over and over. But it never seemed dull to me. I was never, games were never collecting dust on the shelf, but for a day or two, and I was ready to go right back at it. When it comes to this game, we're going to get into the history of a lot, but it really makes me wonder what would happen to this, what would have happened, a big what if as far as Nintendo, if they had released their original Super Mario Brothers 2 instead of this reskinned game. And because there's so much out of this game that has gone into the legacy of Mario, and it makes you wonder if they did release what is called Lost Levels now. If you played it, the original Super Mario 2 they released in Japan, would it have turned off people from gaming? Was it too difficult? Because, between it being too difficult and too similar to the first Mario Brothers is where they went in a different direction with reskinning Doki Doki Panic. And it's just a big what if because they were coming off of this video game crash, essentially. Atari and some of these older games not connecting with American audiences when they were Japan was changing the Famicom and releasing the Nintendo in America and all these kind of things. So Nintendo, lucky for them, they always do things right. And I mean, it goes to show all the music from this game, the moves, the enemies, the 4-player option. They've all come down to continue in Mario's games and things as far as part of Mario's legacy. So again, we'll talk a lot more about that, but all we're going to do right now is talk to our guy Doc Brown, throw some garbage, let's pick some trash, stuff it in your engine there on your DeLorean, and let's get this baby up to 88.
Have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Oh yes, welcome back to 1988. I love these 80s and early 90s time warps where I can talk about old shows and toys that I watched as opposed to stuff my kids are doing. So I love these old 80 ones. We got a great sponsor today, and it goes right along with our Mario theme. So let's get into it. Today is brought to you by...
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. If your sink is in trouble, you can call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers. Hooked on the brothers. Yo, you're in for a treat, so hang on to your seat. Get ready for adventure and remarkable.
I really do want to just play that whole minute or so intro there, but it's better. Just go watch it. Go watch some old Super Mario Brothers Super Show. That's our sponsor today because I want to talk about the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. It's married to this Super Mario Brothers 2 because it was right about the same time. I believe the show was actually 89 as opposed to our 88 time warp here. But the cartoons from that show, like the art and the style, all kind of ran off of Super Mario Brothers 2. So the show itself, if you don't know, Super Mario Brothers Super Show, it was like a live action sitcom almost. For most of the show, or part of it at least, it had like a studio audience type of feel. It had like a laugh track, so it felt really sitcom. And it had your Mario and your Luigi. You had old the WWF superstar there, Captain Lou Albano, and Danny Wells as Luigi. And we had 65 episodes of that show, just like just like cartoons back in the day. You were getting 60 episodes of everything back then. So they had the cartoons during the show, or they would kind of start with your Mario and Luigi, and just weird sound effects and tons of celebrity guests going on the show. We had Cyndi Lauper on there, Magic Johnson. Even had Ernie Hudson as a Ghostbuster on the show. Kind of maybe gave Luigi some ideas down the road. But then they would have the cartoons every episode too. They had the Mario cartoon, and then they had the Zelda cartoon. And the Mario cartoon was sweet. It was all these cartoon graphics. Um, all the Mario kind of, with Mario 2 comes a lot of the art. It's got Birdo in the show. It's got Tri-Clyde. No Wart. It's got your King Koopa slash Bowser. You got the Koopa Kids. Eventually they had like a Super Mario World show as well. But this really centered around Super Mario 2 because there were a lot of desert episodes. All the kind of graphics and art you'd see in Mario 2 were in those cartoons. And then, of course, you've got the very famous Zelda cartoon. I won't play any of the clips. You've seen it and heard probably enough of the "Excuse me, Princess" memes. But did you know, because they only had 13 episodes of the Zelda show, but did you know that he says "Excuse me, Princess" 29 times over 13 episodes? So a lot of people had just issues with how just whiny and stuff Link was in that show. And I agree. But man, we wanted to see, it was the opposite here. We wanted to see our video games in cartoons, just like we wanted to see our cartoons in video games. So again, shout out to Super Mario Brothers Super Show. That thing's streaming everywhere now. Go take a look at that. Let's talk some movies. We've got 1988. We've got Mac and Me, the E.T. kind of ripoff there. I've never seen it, but if you just heard me say that title and you know where I'm going with it, if you haven't seen all the Paul Rudd and Conan O'Brien bits centered around the Mac and Me clip they use, essentially every time Paul Rudd goes on to Conan, I think for the past 15 years or something, to promote a movie, he shows the same clip from Mac and Me of this kid in a wheelchair like flying off a cliff. Even when he was promoting like Avengers Endgame, like they show the Mac, and then Paul Rudd just plays it off like that's a clip from the movie. It's great. You'll find like the compilation videos of just a span of years, and of course Paul Rudd never ages throughout the whole thing as usual. But shout out to Mac and Me. We got Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and while we're talking Mario, you got Who Framed Roger Rabbit starring Bob Hoskins, who played Mario in the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie. I think I just want to do like a full episode review of that movie, maybe like a bonus episode, throw that up on the old Patreon. That's free, again, if you ever find my Patreon out there. So far I just have one bonus episode up right now. I rank all the Star Wars movies to my personal opinion, if you ever want to check me out on Patreon. So you also got Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, who I love. Again, I met him once at a Comic-Con. Got a picture of him next to the DeLorean and everything. That's up on my wall. It's funny. Well, of course, knowing Christopher Lloyd from everything we grew up with and Back to the Future and like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I mean, the Addams Family movies from back then. And my youngest daughter now is watching Wednesday, the new season. And Christopher Lloyd has like cameos in that, I believe, because she she was excited to point out, because she was with us. We got like a family picture with Christopher Lloyd. And, she was like 8 at the time, so she was just standing with her parents with some guy she didn't know. But now the picture's right up there by the TV, and then she noticed that the guy in the Wednesday show she was watching was the guy she had met, and she was like super stoked about that. So it's cool, of course, bringing Christopher Lloyd back, just like they did Christina Ricci as far as in the Wednesday show and playing some other characters. But man, if you're talking my favorites, Addams Family Values all day long. But some other things about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because I've watched that movie 1,000 times, and I love of course, the live action cartoon combination they do there. So a couple of interesting things there as far as Bob Hoskins said that for 2 weeks after filming that movie, or when the movie came out, that his son wouldn't talk to him. And when you finally asked him why, his son was so upset that his dad had worked with characters like Bugs Bunny and didn't invite him to come and meet them. So I just find that adorable. Also, it was the first and only time ever to this day still that Warner Brothers and Disney characters had been together in a movie. And specifically the part where Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse are on screen together. It's when Bob Hoskins' character is falling off a building, just falling forever, and it has a scene with Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. And the only way they got Disney and Warner Brothers to agree to have them in the same scene, Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse, was that they had to speak the exact same number of words. So they're not even saying the same things, but if you counted every single word Bugs Bunny said and Mickey Mouse said, it's going to be the exact for that one scene. So interesting tidbits there. Also 1988, we've got The Naked Gun. And of course, that's, if you don't know, based on Police Squad, which was, I think they only had 3 episodes or something, but it was a show that is just, if you're a fan of Naked Gun and Leslie Nielsen and you haven't seen the Police Squad episodes, like, go find them, because it is just like another like little Naked Gun movie. You see all the same kind of jokes they use and gimmicks, and it leads right into his Naked Gun movies. So go check those out. I used to rent those. I'd get those on the little Netflix DVDs. I get a little red envelope watching the old Police Squad episodes. And shout out to some other sequels from 1988, because I love all those stupid horror movies. You had Critters 2, and you had Return of the Killer Tomatoes. So we had great horror movies back then, between things like Critters and Gremlins, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That's beyond your basics. When I started getting preteen, that's when I'm watching the Freddys and the Jasons and all the stuff that my mom didn't realize we were watching or didn't care. Man, it must have been great to be an 80s parent. I could talk about that all day long. That's the difference between being a parent now versus being an 80s parent. How freaking great they must have had it back then. So let's move on to some TV shows. Again, in the 80s here, we got great ones because I'm a kid, so I'm watching all these. We had Garfield and Friends. I wasn't watching Garfield as much as I was reading the comic strip. The old colored, you'd get on Sunday out of the newspaper, you get the funnies, and they'd be in color on Sunday. So that was a special day, and you'd have all your popular comics there. And my grandpa, back when we'd stay with my grandparents, he'd fill out the crossword puzzle and stuff and then hand me the funnies, and that was good to go for a Sunday morning, eating some cereal, reading some comics. We also had, Ninja Turtles going super strong back in 1988. Ninja. Okay. So Ninja Turtles were going hard back then. The show was starting up. They had the comics, but the TV show, the cartoon, as goofy as it was, really made the Ninja Turtles what they are, because they originally all had the red bandanas, and it was all just a bit more hardcore as far as the comics. You can see that in the box art for the first Ninja Turtles game for Nintendo, where they all have red bandanas. So that was started in the TV show, the color scheme, switching up. So they invented that there between the red, blue, and orange, and so that was a first for that, as well as at the time, by the time Ninja Turtles ended, it was the longest running animated American TV show, only to be taken over 2 years later by, if you haven't guessed it, longest running animated TV show. It's The Simpsons. God, I love The Simpsons. It's so weird to have such a great show and still have 10, 15 years of shows that I've just never watched, as far as like middle Simpsons. I'll just watch seasons 1 through, pick a number, 12, 10, 14, somewhere around there. And I'll just watch those episodes over and over again. And I don't know if anyone's ever going to take that title away from The Simpsons. They're still going strong. Also, as far as Ninja Turtles, Cowabunga was not scripted ever. It was ad-libbed by Townsend Coleman, the voice actor for Michelangelo. So he just ad-libbed that. And tell me that hasn't stuck with the Ninja Turtles forever. So really, I'm telling you, the cartoon really cemented the Ninja Turtles in my heart. But right next to that, back then, we had the real Ghostbusters cartoon, which is just sweet. I'll break that one. I'll get some tidbits on that one again another time. Then a couple of girl shows, because I had a sister, and I had to watch stuff too. We had to take turns, but she was probably rocking Rainbow Bright, the TV show. And I may or may not have liked a lot of her shows. I just wanted to argue about them. But we had Gem and the Holograms as well. I remember having a bunch of those toys too. But speaking of toys, we're gonna peek at this Toys R Us catalog here. Let's talk some toys from '88. The NES was going strong, and you know it when you got a sequel like Super Mario 2 coming out. You had Care Bears, hot and popping. You had My Little Pony, just way before guys were buying those toys, way before the bronies. You just had the little My Little Pony dolls hanging around the house, brushing their hair. Big in '88, because Ghostbusters was huge, was that Ghostbusters Proton Pack, that OG Proton Pack you'd throw on back in the day. And again, big ones, G.I. Joe, all those are going huge in the '80s. And Teddy Ruxpin, a little teddy bear, you'd put like cassette tapes into him, and when the cassette played, his mouth would move like he was telling you the story. And that guy is still around. We have our original. It's either at my mom's or at my sister's. But there's definitely a Teddy Ruxpin laying around in houses amongst my family members somewhere. So he might be worth some money too. And video games of '88, we're shouting out some old NES, some NES ones here that may have not gotten their time in the spotlight. You got Adventures of Bayou Billy, Ghouls and Ghosts, Ice Hockey. Tubin is a really random one that I just remember my stepdad playing and me playing a lot because he had it. And that was one of those, was that one of them Tenjin games? Nintendo let third parties do a lot, so you end up with some of those like black NES cartridges of like a different shape. So you got some weird games coming out on there too. And also '88, we had Mega Man 2, and I'll talk about any Mega Man I can as an excuse to play some of this sweet Mega Man music. Get into this game. What did we get for Christmas this time, Mom?
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants.
You got me. Oh, yeah.
Okie dokie, guys and gals. Let's talk Super Mario Brothers 2. We're taking a look at that box art. This is like our first cartoony Mario. Your Mario 1 box arts. It sells the game as it is. Shows you your 8-bit Mario there, all blocky. Still a sweet cover with a black background. But Super Mario Brothers 2, a lot brighter, a lot friendlier with the light blue sky and your clouds. You got Mario flying through the sky. Why has he got a turnip? We're going to have to figure that out. It's got the Mario Madness right across the bottom. I mean, what kid wasn't looking for that Super Mario 2, Christmas morning or your birthday? I mean, for me, I could still remember opening Mario 3, that bright yellow. It's in there. It's in my brain noggin. So the box art looks great. Of course, we're talking Nintendo Entertainment System. It has been remade. It's been made into Super Mario All-Stars collection. I believe it has a GBA, Super Mario Advance remake as well, as far as on the Game Boys there. So other than the box art, the manual is sweet as well. We're going to take a look at that a little bit more because it's got, again, as an adult and kind of digging through these games now, there's a lot more to this game that I didn't know. There's a lot more differences between some of the characters. There's a lot more story than I didn't know about. But let's just talk some history and facts. We'll talk vitals before we get into the actual gameplay of the levels. We'll go over some of the Doki Doki Panic stuff, and let's get right into it. This game reminds me back then, and I don't know if anybody else had any of these, they were super awesome. They were the Mario and Zelda Choose Your Own Adventure books. If you don't know what these are, and you're like a super huge Mario fan like I am, go check them out. Just some screenshots because they're really cool. The covers are awesome. It's got art on the inside. It's got puzzles on the inside. Here, I'll play some pause music. Go Google it. Take a look. My podcast is paused. Looking at my GoldenEye watch. Sorry, I'm I just like playing the sound clips. Game is paused. Listen to the GoldenEye sound clips. Okay. So anyway, those books were super cool, super awesome. Little paperback, little novels. And if you don't know Choose Your Own Adventure books, it's like Mario came to a pipe, or two pipes, one on the left and one on the right. The left one goes up and the right one goes down. And then it would say, like, if you choose pipe A, turn to page 64. If you choose pipe B, turn to page 148. And then the story would continue from there. Sometimes it would be death, and it's like, oh, turn back. Sometimes you would collect items through the book to then use to unlock doors later. And, these books, they would skip around. You're not reading this left to right, and it's kind of on purpose, so you couldn't, like, spoil yourself by getting to points you weren't supposed to. And I went, like many things in my life, I regret. I had some of those. I sold them on eBay. Back, I used to do a decent amount of eBay back before eBay turned to crap. But I remember, so I sold those. They were vintage. Some of them, they start to fall apart. They're old books. They had been drawn all over because there's puzzles inside, mazes and stuff. And whether it was me or I had bought those and some other kid had filled them out. So I had puzzles filled out. And so I labeled those things on my listing like vintage, like not for kids, for display, for collections, all these things, sold them, got a complaint from this lady, bought them for her frickin' 5-year-old or something, saying that all this stuff's filled out. They're like in bad condition. Why do they look so old? Like she had just bought, like she thought she was at Walmart just buying some coloring books for her kid. I'm like, lady, these are like vintage. Like, don't give these to your kid. Like, but anyway, so I remember that. As far as a bit more on Mario 2, and I mentioned it before, just the impact on the Mario Legacy items, the things that come up in this game and the enemies that come up in this game that last for just the rest of Mario in general. Concepts, and the concept itself of just picking up items we had never done. And to that extent, it kind of threw people off that you couldn't jump on enemies to kill them in this game. You were picking up enemies and throwing them, or throwing things at enemies. But just the themes, you got just the Arabian themes, the desert levels, all these things just carried into Mario. The flying carpet, your Shy Guys are everywhere. Your Pokies, the big sand pokey guys, what are they, rocks, totem pole, how do I even describe, you guys know what I'm talking about, pokies, right? Sorry, a lot of these enemies I do know and I'll say the right names, but a lot of them I don't, because just in my head, in this game I'll find the name of them, but they're just in my head, they're the flying fork guys. They're the guys that fly down that have what look like forks in my brain, and then they try to stab you. So some things just stick in your head from when you were a kid. Oh, but this game was also like the first of the Ba-Bomb. Birdo's around forever. So again, it's just like the themes that have carried on, especially for taking a reskinned game and making it Mario and essentially just taking it over. So again, when we're talking Doki Doki Panic, that is the game, and we'll get into the history there, the original game that Mario kind of took over. And so let's get into it. So they released Japan, they made Super Mario 2, released it in 1989, I believe, in Japan. Everything was fine there. And if you played Lost Levels, that is the original Super Mario 2. And it is like just a straight up sequel of Mario, except that it just starts out hard. It's almost like take out Mario 1, put in Mario 2 / Lost Levels, and it's like you're instantly on like World 9. It's like there's no real kind of easy beginning to it. There's like poison mushrooms. They are just throwing all sorts of stuff at you in Lost Levels, and it is tough. And it's fun to play now as an adult. But what would that have been like if they had released that and no kid could get anywhere? Maybe they put the Nintendo controller down and they're outside playing baseball or sports like some weirdo. Like, what would have happened? Nobody would be inside wasting daylight playing Nintendo in the shadows. So Doki Doki Panic was a game, also heavily developed by Shigeru Miyamoto, so that's why this works so well. It was a game being developed for some festival. It involved some masks. You can find all this stuff online, and a lot of you guys already know it. It was for like I said, like a festival, and they had this. It was these other characters. It was a guy and his girlfriend and his mom and dad, and they get sucked into like a fairy tale world, but then everything else plays the same. Like when I was growing up, I had learned about the whole reskin thing, and I thought they had changed a lot, like changed all these enemies, changed the music, the sounds. But no, it's like all these things came from Doki Doki Panic. That music is from Doki Doki Panic. Shy Guy, Birdo, all these guys are what they were. All they really did to reskin this game was post over the four main characters to change them, to Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Princess. And then they added just a few things. They added or switched even. They switched, they like added the mushroom as far as like your life. They added like the mushroom sound. They added the coins and the coin sounds, just make it a little more Mario. Gameplay wise, Shigeru added run to this game. There wasn't a run option in Doki Doki Panic, so they did that to make it feel a bit more like Mario. And other than that, we'll kind of poke around as we get to them on some more of these differences here. But also Super Mario Brothers 2, aside from Doki Doki Panic, was our first time we were playing Peach, first time we were playing Toad, and it was kind of a first time to have this kind of player option when you start a level. So Peach and Toad playable way before Toad's tracking treasures, way before Peach is changing a bunch of outfits and Peach's Showtime or whatever that game was. That was a cute game. I played that with my daughter. I think there's another game like Super Peach too. But man, get Peach some love. I like Peach in her little like motorcycle outfit in Mario Kart. And I'll rock Peach on the motorcycle. Some other things here. I mean, I mentioned the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, of course, but again, all those like characters you play then in this game, and then you see them talk and have storylines and all these things in the TV show. So that was really cool. We're going to check out the manual too, because again, there's a bunch of interesting stuff in there. There's some expanded story. There's some great art and description. But we'll keep talking some more history and facts here. So when Shigeru was developing, the festival game, Doki Doki Panic, the early prototype was just it was just vertical, I believe, like mainly just vertical, lots of jumping up, lots of grabbing your partner, throwing them up, lots of vertical co-op action. But Shigeru didn't like it, so he had them add horizontal for variety, which really worked out for the game. So you can see this game has a lot of horizontal and then these kind of new vertical levels where you're either jumping and climbing up a lot of levels or you are digging down a lot of levels. And also, before I forget to mention it, in this game, they do kind of the Mario arcade as far as how you can move. So if you're on like a vertical screen, but it has openings on the sides, if you run right, your character then appears on the left side of the screen. So it's just in this infinity, kind of like Neo in the subway type of thing. You just reappear on the other side of the screen there. So that's kind of part of this game, and that plays into technique and gameplay definitely when it comes to avoiding enemies, avoiding the freaking flying mask that comes at you when you got a key. Yep, they ditched the prototype, reskinned Doki Doki. It was the Yumi Kojo Festival, maybe. Again, sorry, you can look up more of that stuff, but I know it's just basically a festival that involved a lot of mascots and masks, and that's why you see that in this game. You see a lot of masked enemies, you see a lot of the masks flying around, a lot of mask art. So it all involved that Japanese mask festival. And it also, like I mentioned before, the original Doki Doki takes place within a book, as within an Arabian setting, like a fairy tale. They get sucked into the book, and then they kind of change the story here. It's a little bit of text at the beginning of this game that lets you know Mario kind of discovered some stuff in a dream. So they change it to a kind of dream scenario here. But the original game, again, had your boy. His name was Imogen. His girlfriend Lena, and then you had Mama and Papa. And then those got transferred to the boy to Mario, the girlfriend to Princess, Mama to Luigi, and Papa to Toad. So those were the character swaps there. And again, the game got a huge breakdown in Nintendo Power. We'll get into that. It was also the first game, now that we're in Mario 2, to show Luigi being taller than Mario. So that followed forever. And again, they swap some sprites, to add in shells. But I think the POW block was original here. One of the other random things they kind of did they slowed down the waterfalls for Mario 2. I think they were a little faster in Doki Doki Panic, like where the logs are rolling down and stuff. They added the Mario sounds, and other than that, we got our classic new enemies, like I mentioned before, that have just stayed forever. Bob-omb, Pokey, Shy Guy, Birdo, all these guys. So manual-wise, it's pretty freaking sweet. We'll talk, the story. We'll talk, and again, the characters. We'll get into when we talk gameplay as far as the differences in those. There's more differences even in like Doki Doki Panic to Mario. Like I mentioned, I think pretty much everything here. They swapped out bosses, so the bosses are different sprites for Mario 2. And again, they switched. It was just a heart sprite. They changed that to mushrooms, and it was a magic lamp in Doki Doki. They switched it to the magic potion bottle in this game. And then some graphical animations they changed for Mario 2. It's just as far as like the grass moves in the wind. Slightly, where it was static in Doki Doki Panic. And then some other just minor gameplay changes, like boss hit counts, like how many hits it takes to kill a boss. But I mean, other than that, it is the same game. So it's like, and again, Shigeru made Doki Doki Panic, but it should be just stressed how much influence a game just made for a festival. Wasn't expecting to do anything. The legacy of that game being tied to Mario now, just forever, just in everybody's hearts. So I just think it's really cool. I want to talk about Nintendo Power because if you don't know the cover of issue 1 of Nintendo Power, it is Mario 2. That is their big selling points when they started Nintendo Power. If you don't know the cover I'm talking about, it's like a claymation cover. It's got Mario holding a carrot in this case, kind of running away from Wart in the background. And it is kind of like maybe it's the wrong color of Mario and everything. But if you know that cover, I mean, that's your top selling, your most sought after Nintendo Power issue number 1. And they redid that. I think they redid that cover on their last issue. I wish Nintendo Power was still around. I wish I had. I don't know what I did with all of mine. I never banked them up and sold them or anything, but there is nothing like grabbing a Nintendo Power, just feeling it in your hands, turning those crisp, colorful pages, just smelling the old 80s coming off of those magazines. Like, if there's a lot of people who prefer books to digital and these kind of things. I wish I could just have some physical magazines to read. I just stick them in the bathroom like you used to. Just read some old Nintendo Powers while you're pooping. And that was the way to go. But it does have a huge spread of levels, items. Right off the bat on the magazine itself, it's got a sweet ad for the Nintendo Power line. Oh man, if you guys remember calling that power line, trying to get some tips, calling the power line, talking to some adult who's never played a video game in his life that's got to then go through folders and folders of notes to try and tell you the area you're looking for. So those aren't around anymore. But again, the magazine's sweet, full spread, tells you everything. It's got some really funky art too, and this hand-drawn not quite knowing where we're going with Mario. I mean, check out issue 1. It's even just got 2 pages of just a Super Mario Brothers 2 sports festival, and it's just like, it looks like something. It's pretty cool, but it does look like something like an elementary kid might have drawn. But again, we're pre-computers, so it's all hand-drawn stuff anyway, as far as any computer-type art. But take a look at that magazine. Again, huge breakdown, sweet art. If you don't remember the Nintendo Power level layouts, it was always cool to see the level layouts in the full level, because you're so used to playing screen by screen by screen. So to see it all just kind of laid out, and they're pointing out every single item and everything. So big shout outs to Nintendo Power magazine. And then as far as controls, it's your Nintendo pad. You're gonna move left, right. Again, they added run, so you hold B to run. A is your jump. And then B also, when you're not running, is your pick up and throw. So you jump on things, pick them up, throw them. Also, it's got kind of a bonus jump where you just hold down till your character starts to blink a little bit, and then you fly up a lot higher into the sky. And other than that, we're gonna get into some straight gameplay. I want to break down what these characters are and what they can do. And I'm sorry, whether you like it or not, we're going to go level by level because I got a little something to say about every level in this game. So let's listen to, again, the music. It's iconic. You knew it. You're going to know this next song is iconic too. But if you like 2 iconic songs in your games, then that's all you're going to get in this one because that is pretty much it. But let's hear it. Let's get into some gameplay. Oh yeah, hey, did you know that Doki Doki is a Japanese onomatopoeia for the sound of a quickly beating heart? So take that out of this episode. So we're going to get in the story. It gives you a few lines of text at the beginning of the game, but I'm going to read you it's just a page out of the manual. But it's nice if you didn't know, if you never heard of it, there's names for this world and all sorts of stuff. So, the story of Super Mario Bros. 2. One evening, Mario had a strange dream. He dreamt of a long, long stairway leading up to a door. As soon as the door opened, he was confronted with a world he had never seen, spreading out as far as his eyes could see. When he strained his ears to listen, he heard a faint voice saying, "Welcome to Subcon, the land of dreams. We have been cursed by Wart, and we are completely under his evil spell. We have been awaiting your arrival. Please defeat Wart and return Subcon to its natural state. The curse Wart has put on you in the real world will not have any effect upon you here. Remember, Wart hates vegetables. Please help us." At the same time this was heard, a bolt of lightning flashed before Mario's eyes. Stunned, Mario lost his footing and tumbled upside down. He awoke with a start to find himself sitting up in bed. To clear his head, Mario talked to Luigi, Toad, and Princess about the strange dream he had. They decided to go to a nearby mountain for a picnic. After arriving at the picnic area and looking at the scenery, they see a small cave nearby. When they enter this cave, to their great surprise, there's a stairway leading up, up, and up. It is exactly like the one Mario saw in his dream. They all walk together up the stairs and at the top find a door just like the one in Mario's dream. When Mario and his friends in fear open the door, to their surprise, the world that he saw in his dream spreads out before them. So there's your story. I didn't recall that the world even had a name, but it's called Subcon as far as the land of dreams Mario's in. And just reading that and it's got a cool little art of Mario going up these stairs. I mean, I know, so we're getting kind of into this Inception dream within a dream as far as Mario goes here, but it's kind of cool. I mean, if you knew that and you knew the story, that's how the game starts, as far as Mario walks up these stairs, falls through a door, so then the game starts and you're just falling from this door. So on the other side of that door is the stairs you walked up in Mushroom Kingdom back there somewhere, but too late now because you're falling down. You know, it's this iconic, the game starts and you just start falling. So I like that backstory. Take note of that Wart hates vegetables line. Oh, that's going to come back later. Spoiler alert. So let's talk characters. Everybody kind of knows the differences, but I didn't know that there were as many differences. So to me, it was always Mario was basic, and basic Mario. You mid Mario. I'm joking. Luigi and his flutter jump. Toad can pick up things fast, and Princess can float a little bit. So in my head, that's what it always was, but there are differences. So Mario, it says, has average jumping power in almost all situations, but the height he can jump decreases a little when he is carrying an item. So he jumps a little less when he's carrying something. Luigi, he can jump the highest and can go much farther, but he jumps slowly. When he has an item, his power decreases more than Mario, so he goes down even harder. Toad, he has the least jumping power, but since he has lifting power, the height he can jump and the speed he can run does not change even if he is carrying an item. So Toad will always run and jump the same, whether or not he's holding something. And Princess Toadstool, she is number 3 in jumping power. When you hold down the A button, she can float in the air for about 1.5 seconds. Her jumping power decreases quite a bit when she is carrying an item. So she'll sink like a rock. And then there's still a few other differences, because I never even realized that they would jump lower if they were holding an item. But let's talk running. They all run at the same speed, but if they are carrying something, the order from slowest to quickest is Princess, Luigi, Mario, Toad. So there's differences in their run speed, and then picking up the speed at which they pick up items in order of the slowest to quickest is Princess, Luigi, Mario, Toad. So you all kind of know those ones there. Still kind of lines up with what all the characters can do. And again, Mario kind of being kind of your OG, kind of in the middle there. So the game itself, you've got 20 levels across 7 worlds. Some of the new mechanics you're going to find, and again, there's no like overworld. You're just going to go level to level. So again, some new mechanics. Again, the big one being picking up items and enemies. You carry, either you're picking up enemies, throwing them and killing enemies. You're picking up like veggies to throw at the enemies to hurt them. You can pick up bombs, kind of time those out as you throw them. And then sometimes there's these mushroom blocks that I guess you can, maybe they just call them that and never reskinned them. I mean, I guess they kind of look like mushrooms. I think I called them like mushroom stools too. But they're things that you can stack to get to higher places, or you can throw at enemies and they don't go away, so you can kind of pick them up and use them on enemies over and over again. You can use them on birdos over and over again. And of course, you can run in this game holding B. There's going to be a lot of vines and chains and stuff you can climb. Same kind of stuff there. I told you about your kind of super jump, and other than that, that's pretty much it. You just hit up to go indoors, you hit down to go into, your like vases or pots. There's no real kind of pipes in this one. But it's all pretty self-explanatory as you come to it in the game. The items, again, you're going to find some coins, vegetables, bombs, turtle shells, and it's pretty much it. The mushroom blocks, 1-ups here and there, the stars, your invincibility star and your hearts, kind of your life, aren't really findable objects. They'll kind of appear when you do something for them. I'll talk about some other mechanics. You have the keys and the key doors and the mask. What is his name? Phanto, I think, the bad mask, the angry sun type mask that chases you. So that's a mechanic here. You have to pick up the key and then get the key to the locked door. The mask will chase you. You can throw the key, he'll stop chasing you. You can use the key to kill enemies as you're running away. So that's a pretty big mechanic. The vertical levels is like a big kind of new mechanic as far as either climbing up. You're either platforming up or climbing things up, grabbing something, and then you might have to fly all the way back down to the bottom. And then they have the digging thing, where you're actually digging down. And then that comes the strategy. There comes some strategy there as far as moving left and right, because the enemies, as you dig, will then fall into the holes you're digging. So you can't just dig straight down, because then an enemy will just fall down on top of you. So you got to kind of keep moving there. So that's definitely a mechanic. There's also the potions. You can enter subspace. That's actually the name for wherever you go within the dream world when you throw your potion down. And that's just a chance to collect some coins and maybe a mushroom if you do it in the right spot. At the end of every level is the free life lottery. Depending on how many coins you got, it gives you chances at the lottery. I don't know if there's a technique to that thing. I just spam my button. But it's your chance for free lives there. And then another kind of new mechanic that I feel like stuck around, because it's definitely in Mario 64, is the whole magic carpet mechanic.
I can show you the world.
So we got flying carpets in this game now, and it fits that Arabian kind of theme for sure. So those are just a couple of the mechanics we're going to run into. The enemies, I couldn't list them all, but man, they are great. They are iconic. We got the same kind of enemies in different kind of colors. But definitely the ones that stick to me for sure is Shy Guy. I mean, he's been around nonstop now. You got Ninja, you got Sniffit, and you got Pokey and Babam. So those are all ones that I just know because they're all over in Mario. Again, as I name some of these, it'll be kind of describe what they kind of look at. I'm just like the snakes in the pots. His name is Cobrat. And I like that because he is a brat. Those freaking snakes. Also, between the manual and, real quick, between the manual and the credits at the end, they swapped Birdo and Ostro for some reason, so their names are wrong in the manual and at the end of the game. Ostro is a shy guy riding an ostrich, and Birdo is Birdo. So we got all these iconic enemies and characters. We got some new iconic bosses. You got Birdo all over this game. And while I'm at it, we'll mention Birdo real quick because they get labeled as video game's first trans character. Because it does describe, it says Birdo, and it's a pink dinosaur with a bow on their hair, head piece, eyelashes and everything, so she looks feminine, but it says Birdo, he thinks he is a girl and he spits eggs from his mouth. He'd rather be called Birdetta. So Birdo is a he. There's tons of Birdos in this game. The interesting thing here is the fact that if we want to celebrate Birdo for being video game's first trans character, Nintendo isn't. Otherwise, it would be named Birdetta, since he wants to be called Birdetta, but then they're just like, no, you're Birdo. So I find that interesting. And again, nothing, political or any of that stuff with this podcast. But as far as, gay, bi, trans, black, white, whatever you are, you're welcome here to talk about video games anytime. We're all in this community. We're all just here to enjoy games. And if you're a racist or a bigot, you can just turn my podcast off. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's move on here. Another mechanic, so in this game, is in order to get your health, you either have to find that mushroom. You got a health bar on the left there. It starts at like 2 diamonds. It can go up to 4. And the same kind of mechanic, when you do get down to 1 little diamond, your character will shrink. So that's still right there with you. But then in order to get, so you'll either find them in the subspace, and then if you find that extra mushroom, it's going to increase your total of diamond heart things you could get there. But to get an actual heart to increase your health, you have to kill a certain number of enemies, and then the heart will just start floating up the screen. So it's kind of tricky, but it's tricky because it's like, oh, you're about to die, well, start killing enemies. Put yourself in danger and start killing enemies to try to get a heart piece. And that's just kind of what that is there. The other thing, if you want to trigger your invincibility star, it'll do the same thing where it just starts floating up from the bottom of the screen. You have to collect, I believe, 5 cherries. So on your 5th cherry, that star will start floating up the screen if you got to grab it. So it does, the bosses aren't all solid. They repeat and they change colors. They get harder. Your first Birdo is pretty easy, but then eventually they get a little harder and change some mechanics on you there that we'll get into as we go level to level. And again, this game has a good variety of the worlds, a good variety of colors, different types of world. Again, there's no swimming, at least in this game. But other than that, we got every other, I think, world we can think of. I think this is when, Mario kind of, with the desert worlds, it just kind of became a thing. We're always going to get a desert world, kind of probably like a fire level, ice, a water, so all these kind of things. Kind of come from this as far as different themes and different levels. I think the colors look really good in this game. They mix them up a lot. Very like Kirby-like to me as far as some of the lighter color outlines. I think Mario even has like a blue outline as far as his outline colors, like a darker blue. So when you're playing these levels with like a solid black background, Mario still stands out a little bit. So let's talk levels. Let's talk worlds. Again, we're talking 7 worlds, no map. Each world consists of 3 levels, except World 7 just has 2. So let's talk, levels by levels. So our first world is World 1. It's your basic, your grass. Just how we like a game to start with a kind of tutorial level. And by that, I don't mean it's telling you to do anything, but it gives you everything so that you can figure it out on your own. So the first level has, again, I told you start out falling. You're going to learn your door mechanics. As soon as you walk out that door, you got enemies coming at you, and you see things you can pick up out of the ground. It's like you're going to learn that right off the bat. You're going to pick up these veggies. It's turnips, tomatoes, little half turnips, and you just throw those at enemies or pick up enemies and throw them. It's going to give you the waterfall kind of mechanic, and that's where it gives you the kind of the way they do their moving platforming. So it'll have waterfalls where logs are going down, so you have to jump across those, time those right. It gives you a power block in this level, so you can learn what those do as far as clearing out the screen, and just how different the world looks from other Mario games. So it looks better, it's got details, but it's also got, no warp pipes, so you're going down pots. You got to kind of relearn what you're doing here. It gives you that key door mechanic right in the first level. And as far as like secrets and shortcuts in this game, there's a few of them, but they're mainly just kind of shortcuts, maybe to get you to Birdo quicker. There's one right in the first level. If you just come up when you're underground, you fly across the waterfall and time your bombs right, get in a door, and then you end up at Birdo, but you still got to beat Birdo. So when you get to your first Birdo, World 1-1, it's your basic. Birdo spits eggs out. You have to jump on top of the eggs, pick them up, and throw them at Birdo 3 times. When you jump on his eggs, just like any enemies, when you jump on them, if they fly, you're going to go with them. If they're walking, you can just take a break and let the enemies walk you around. This comes into play a lot later. You have to ride birds across levels. You have to jump on fish across waterfalls. So you're never going to get hurt jumping on enemies unless it's obvious, like a spark enemy or something like that that's going to hurt you. Other than that, same with like flying carpet enemies too. So again, you beat Birdo, 3 eggs to the face. It pops out like a little crystal ball thing. You pick that up, and the big bird mouth things opens, and you're on to either the next part, or in this case, the next level. So let's take a look at World 1-2. It's your first, right off the bat, your first introduction to your new flying carpet mechanic.
I can show you the world.
So those things, when you land on the carpet, you become, you can just move the carpet up, left, right, but it will start blinking when it's time to get off that carpet. And usually there's a bunch of flying guys. The thing about the swoopy fork guys, let me find the name for those guys. They're just like, I always just think of the buzzards in Donkey Kong Country. There was just some other game that had them too. It's where they're stationary and then they do like an angle swoop and then fly straight across. They're called Bezos. I always just called them angry fork guys. Phanto is the mask, if I just call him the mask guy. There's also the fire spitters. That's what they are in my head. Those are called panzers. And I thought I was just making up the sparks. I was just calling them spark guys, but those are just called sparks. So that's kind of a new mechanic in World 1-2. And then World 1-3 introduces the vertical level kind of situation. And that's your first one where it's got the key and the angry mask. So that's where you have to... It's easier in this first one because the vertical part is you get up, pick up the key, and then if you just run quick enough, you're just falling down. So the mask can't even catch up with you. But you got to be careful where you're falling. It could be spikes down there and that kind of stuff. But then you get to your first boss. And again, there's more Birdos along the way. They're just constantly you're fighting Birdos. Sometimes you have to fight a Birdo to get to open that bird mouth to then make it to the actual boss of that world. But in this case, it's Mauser. He's around now. We all know Mauser. He should be a Smash character. Mauser, it is a bomber of bad dreams that destroys good dreams. It is proud and it doesn't believe that it is just a mouse. So all these bosses got kind of some sort of issues or something, maybe some therapy for some of these guys. But he's throwing bombs. It's it can be hectic, but in this case, it's not like Birdo. You can catch the bombs midair. So as he's throwing them, if you just jump, you'll have the bomb, and you can chuck it back to him. If you're waiting for him to throw bombs and pick up bombs off the floor to throw at him, that's going to be a bad time because he usually just chucks 3. By the time you go to pick up one of the bombs, the first one's going off. So you're going to want to time that to catch those midair if possible. So that's your first world. We're going to move on to our next world, and this is your first kind of right in the desert. So it's going to introduce us to a lot of desert mechanics. There's going to be pyramids in the background. This is where we got the cobrats, those snakes popping out of jars. Or they'll just be in kind of the quicksand type area because we get introduced to quicksand. You'll see the ground's just kind of moving down. You jump into that, you're going to start sinking. It's kind of hard. You got to tap, tap, tap to get out of that quicksand. And it introduces us to our first vertical digging level, which is good if you're Toad, because he's just ripping that dirt up. But this is, again, like I was saying earlier, this is like dirt layers. So it's like you have to dig like 2 or 3 times, run over to the left, dig. I'm constantly moving and digging just so it makes the enemies above you do like a lot more back and forths before they can fall down and get to you. And it'll throw stuff in the mix. It'll have like a snippet, like shooting stuff at you, jumping up while you're trying to go down. And then sometimes in these vertical digging levels, it'll have a split, like a left or right, and you'll have to make that decision on which way to go. And again, this one just ends with a Birdo fight. They're going to start getting tougher, but we'll just keep going. So if we're talking World 2-2, we're still in the desert. New mechanic here is the sand waterfalls. It's going to work just like your regular log dropping waterfalls. They just changed it to fit the theme. So it's like a sand waterfall with like bones sliding down it. So you got to jump across those. A lot more digging in this level. And then we get, I think, our first new Birdo here. And they spit fire occasionally. So it'll be like, and I'm not sure if there's a pattern. That's what makes it kind of tough. Depending in this fight, you're not going to die by falling anywhere. You got plenty of room to wait for them to spit out an egg to catch and then throw back at them. It'll be a little fireball every once in a while, so watch out for that. Moving on to 2-3, a lot more digging, except this time they throw the key and the mask into the mix. So now you have to, I think, like throw the key while digging, pick the key back up, keep digging down to get to the locked door at the bottom. And we got a new boss here in this world, and it's Triclyde, my favorite boss in the game. He is like a snake, a 3-headed snake. He looks cool. I love the animation when he gets hit because his eyes turn all big and surprised like a cartoon character. Triclyde, he was once an outsider, but now he is one of Wart's helpers since he impressed Wart with his cunning brain and offensive capabilities, which are 3 times normal strength. So he's got 3 heads. He spits fire, like 5 fireballs at a time, but they're real kind of centered on where you are. So like let him spit his fire, pick up, it's always going to have the little mushroom blocks, mushroom stools that you can pick up and chuck at him. So you beat Triclyde, moving on to World 3, and that is a like waterfall / caves kind of world. So a lot more water kind of in the mix. You start getting into clouds and those kind of things as well. So 3-1 starts out with a big waterfall in the background. You're hopping up some clouds. And we move to another kind of weird kind of, now we're in like a vertical magic carpet.
I can show you the world.
So in this case, when you kill the guy and hop on the magic carpet, you stay in the center of the screen and just fly straight up to get to that vine, because it's going to send some flying fork guys at you. If you're like trying to avoid them, your magic carpet will probably run out anyway and you'll die, but jump on your carpet and head straight up to the vine. From there, this is the level where it starts with those annoying flame spitters, panzers, but they spit fire like constantly. Unless you can take them out, they're going to be pretty tough. And then this one has our first kind of tough Birdo fight, because now he's got a gap in the middle, so you can actually fall through it. But it gives you plenty of mushroom stools. If you hop behind him, grab some mushroom stools, throw at him, you can take him out, because you can reuse those, because it's a real, he'll shoot fire too, but there's a real small area, so you can't just guess. You'll probably end up jumping on the fire, so you're probably going to want to rock those stools to take out that Birdo. Jumping into 3-2, we got another new mechanic. As soon as you jump into that level, you got a freaking shy guy and an ostrich running at you. Just out of nowhere. And again, you can hop on him, throw the shy guy off, and now you're riding the ostrich. Right out of the gate, throwing that at you. And then this one has a lot of mix between like upper and underground levels. So you're going to end up going kind of to the right of the screen, down, and then back to the left of the screen to kind of complete this level. Moving on to 3-3, kind of a cave level. It's got really cool colors, kind of lights and dark blues. And then a lot of the vertical levels, and again, they work like the old Mario, where you run to the left and come out the right. So you got that mechanic, and then this one has the boss of this world is another mouser, but he's green, so they change it up a little bit. Now you got a green mouser coming at you. So moving on from our green mouser friend there, World 4, we're into it. ice and snow levels. So you got your classic 4-1 here. We're sliding on ice just like you're expecting to. In this case, we got a little new mechanic. You go to rip up a vegetable, and instead it's a freaking rocket ship. So that shoots you up to the next level. Also a new mechanic here. You got Shy Guys riding these fire shooting machines, like big cannon things on wheels, but also a thing you can throw Shy Guy off, and now you're riding on top of. There are parts in this game, if I don't have it written down for later, where it's like you do need to ride guys over spikes, and I mentioned again, you got to ride birds over like through an entire level. So again, we're in ice and snow, level 2 there. We're in the sky, sliding around a little bit, and then so they add this ice mechanic and lots of the fork flying guys. But we got a sweet new friend who's going to help us out with tons of freaking whales everywhere. So you're jumping on whales. You're using their little water spouts to shoot you up into the sky to get to some higher places. So you can, in this, so this is the level 2 here. You have to kill the Shy Guy to ride his fire shooting machine across the spikes. And then, again, we got another Birdo, except this time we're sliding around on ice. So another new mechanic to keep Birdo a little complicated. Level 3 of World 4 is like a snow world, so you don't slide on snow like you do on ice. But in this case, you have to ride Birdo's eggs he's shooting, like across the level. And then you get to like a vertical ice level with spikes. So you're sliding around while not trying to fall down on spikes. Some classic platforming there, with a new boss for this world of Fry Guy. And he is just kind of a giant living flame. You're not bouncing on him or anything. You're throwing stuff at him, and eventually he breaks up into little fireballs. It says, Fry Guy, Wart gave life to this entity which is created from fire. He spits fireballs when he is mad. So he's a basic bad guy for you. Moving on, World 5. And this is, if you've heard me talk before, aesthetically, I like this world a lot. It's just kind of a nighttime world. So you're going to get a lot of black backgrounds again, and just kind of makes everything in front of those black backgrounds kind of pop a little bit. In this one, you're jumping across logs. In this one, you have to jump across fish as well. So you get across your log waterfall, and then you're going to have your fish jumping up from the bottom of the screen and kind of going right back down. So you've got to platform your way across the jumping fish. And then we reach a Birdo, and now we're into the all fire Birdos. You can tell because his little tummy's all sparkly and on fire. So he's just going to spit straight fire like a rapper from the 90s. And you have to use your little shroom block stools or something. You got to throw those, the ones that don't go away. I'll call them shroom stools. So you take him out with those, and we move on to 5-2. We got some new enemies here, and it's a new kind of nighttimey outdoor level. You're kind of in the woods, so it has these ladybug-looking things climbing up and down vines that'll hurt you. It's got some porcupines around. It's just kind of a new enemy. I mean, porcupines are kind of obviously, you're not going to jump on those. And then there's lots of vertical, like vine climbing on this one. Your Birdo for this one, you're on like a bridge with fish jumping. So there's your kind of new interfering mechanic there. You got to avoid some fish as well. Move on to 5-3. And now you got birds flying through the sky. What are they? The albatross, the dropping bombs. So another new enemy here, and now you're kind of in like a tree-looking level. So again, some new visual aesthetics there, some new art. And then in this case, you've got to use your carpet.
I can show you the world.
Use your carpet to get up to Birdo in this one. You got to fight Birdo before you even get to the last boss in this world, which is Claw Grip. He is a giant crab. Claw Grip, he grows suddenly, and he is surprisingly skilled at throwing rocks. Okay, so he throws these rock-looking, coconut rock-looking things at you. You just have to pick up, chuck back at him. Moving on to World 6. We're back in the desert. We're going to get a little tougher. 6-1, I mean, it's almost all quicksand. And then this one has kind of an underground level that is just like 30 pots all lined up. So you have to find the right pot that has the key in it to go open the door there. In this case, you got another birdo. He's all flame. We're just kind of changing colors. You got a green birdo now. Again, all flame, so it's going to give you items or mushroom stools or something there to beat birdo. 6-2, we're in the night desert now, so it looks sweet. This one you have to ride the birds pretty much across the entire level while avoiding the other forked bird things flying down and trying to get you. Then you got another green birdo after that. And then 6-3, it's another nighttime desert level. Except in this one, let's start at the level. It's going to have some quicksand right to the left, and that's going to be your ticket out of there. You got to sink yourself into the quicksand. A little secret here for you. And then kind of keep tap and jump as you move to the left. And then you'll find yourself a little vegetable rocket ship. It'll take you to the next part of the level. And other than that, we got another Tri-Clyde as far as the boss of this world. Again, he's my favorite boss, but same rinse and repeat with him, your three-headed snake. And now we are into the last world. And there's only 2 levels to the last world, World 7. And it's really kind of like a sky fortress, kind of get dream world type of themes here. And I'll tell you, just kind of tips and tricks and whether or not they're actual secrets in the game.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
With this one, there's a bird heading right to you. You jump on him and you start riding the screen to the left. And I love those kind of things because I don't know if it's video games have taught me that, but does anybody else like start a platformer and just run to the left and do all that stuff? Was it like Donkey Kong Country that kind of started that for you, where you just go because there'd be like just a barrel there or something because you just never think to go to the left when you start the game. In this case, you're going to like hop in a rocket, a lot of cloud type platforming in this, and then a lot of running back and forth because of the way they have the clouds layered is almost like when you're digging through the sand. So because you can't like push down an A like Chippendale style to go down essentially a layer, you have to run back and forth to make it through this kind of back and forth of the clouds while avoiding the sniffets, shooting little balls, and then avoiding shy guys because if you're trying to go through your path and there's a shy guy, you got to kind of backtrack it. So just some interesting platforming there for your almost last level. 7-2, last level. It's a lot of vertical. There's lots of chains and spark guys. The spark guys that kind of stay on platforms and just rotate around it. And some of those are whipping. Some of those are going super fast. So a lot of climbing, a lot of avoiding the chains. I mean, it really does start to like feel like a palace. You're feeling like you're on your trek to your end of your journey here. You have to fight Birdo even just to get a key. You can see Birdo's like holding the key. So now you're avoiding masks again. There's lots of conveyors in this level. Just your general platforming tricks. They're throwing all of them at you. You can use the key as you're running and avoiding that mask to kill the sparks if you're trying to get to certain places. So that can be helpful. Then you get to the end, or what you start thinking towards is the end, and open up your crystal ball to go into that bird mouth thing to the next part, except spoiler alert twist, it's like the bird mouth gate thing comes to life, and then you have to kill that thing. And in the original in Doki Doki Panic, those kind of eagle mouth things, you pick up the crystal ball and they open up and you go through them. Those were all like different masks, I think, in Doki Doki Panic. So at this point, you're like fighting like a mask. But in our case, we're just fighting this bird head gate thing that we don't really know why or what it is, but it's still a cool little, you think you're going to walk into it and it starts attacking you. And then you make it through that and you finally find Wart. He's at the dream machine itself. It's like a big tube looking thing in the background, almost like a big organ or something. And that's where it's shooting veggies and stuff out of it. And do you remember at the beginning what they said about Wart hating vegetables? Well, this is where that knowledge comes into play. He's not a hard fight. What does it say for Wart here? He is the most mischievous of all in the world of dreams. He created monsters by playing with the dream machine. So Wart, you're going to get your vegetables, your turnips, your tomatoes as it spits them out at you. And you just got to time it right to throw it in his mouth. He's like burping bubbles out at you. They're pretty easy to avoid. Just time it right to get the veggies in his mouth. And eventually it just turns kind of black and white, falls off the screen, and as far as we know, we just beat Super Mario Brothers 2. You beat Wart. So the ending here is really sweet, because right off the bat it gives you like a stat screen, so you can tell what layers or what levels were beat by what player. It'll have a number above their head. And I believe, for Doki Doki Panic, in order to actually beat the game, you had to beat the final boss with every character. So they took that out, obviously, for this one. That's a little much. But it's got a sweet, sweet animation as far as showing Mario dreaming. So it turns out Mario was dreaming all of this, which begs the question, was Mario dreaming that he then dreamed of this place? Or is he dreaming that he dreamed? Anyway, more Inception dream talk for you there. But the animation's really cool because it just looks like a cartoon. Mario's got his little nightcap on. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it or beat this game. And then it shows him kind of dreaming the little things. But that's cool with the credits too. Besides your normal credits, it shows you all the guys and their names and little sprites for them. It still messes up Birdo and Ostro's names. But again, it's nice when you can beat a game and again, watch those credits. You earned it. Enjoy it. Let's go ahead. Let's get into some comments, reviews. Let's get into some awards. Let's keep talking Mario.
Aren't you a little old for video games?
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Let's do all the things that you want to do.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
I've lived in mortal terror that this would happen.
Get on with the ceremony.
All right, so pulling comments and reviews here, being Super Mario Brothers 2, a lot of people are reviewing Lost Levels in this section, so I had to pick through those. Pretty much any review complaining about poison mushrooms, I'm like, well, you're not about my Super Mario Bro 2 I'm talking about. So we've got Caleb here. He says, I love Super Mario, but I will admit to not liking this game. It was really boring almost. In World 3, the waterfall really hurt my eyes, and it was overall just a really weird game. You could no longer bounce on enemies, and you had to pick them up and collide them with another enemy to kill them. Or you could throw turnips at them. Turnips, what the heck, Nintendo? You guys really did not think this one through. And I will address the elephant in the room here. This is not a Mario game. It is a reskin of Doki Doki Panic, which is a shame. Because the second game, The Lost Levels, was such a great game. But no, Nintendo thought it was too difficult for us, so they decided to give us a Mario game that isn't a Mario, and it really triggers me. But it was a fun game to play, if not really annoying. So, Caleb, good comment, interesting comment. You like your games hard, you like you some Lost Levels, but like I said, you can't with this game. You can't hate it for its weirdness. You can't hate it for the turnips. It changed Mario. It gave us so much more Mario. It gave us so many other directions to go with that the series does go with. So many more enemies, so many more concepts and mechanics. Just to poke through, to rip around. What are people liking? What do they like to do with Mario in these platformer games? And other Lost Levels could have killed it. It could have just been like, this is too much. So I appreciate everything about Super Mario 2. Again, it's Shigeru Miyamoto all over it. The guy knows what he's doing. And just based on the legacy characters and the TV shows and everything that's came since, I've got nothing but love for Mario 2 and all its weirdness. Like, keep giving me the weird crap. We got John here. He says, this is the greatest game of all time. The plot and characters are quite relatable. The plot beats the plot to Xenoblade Chronicles and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood combined. No game could beat this game in all of its power as the complex plot of Steins Gate. The gameplay is very interactive and intense. The music and visuals are so high class. I am not sure what game he's talking about, but it's got to be Super Mario Brothers 2. I mean, because the plot and characters are quite relatable. When I dream of Mario 2. So, I mean, I'm right there. I had the same dream last night from playing this game. So, fun comment there, John. I do wonder what game you're talking about. Maybe Sea of Stars. freaking love that game. We got Arkdov here. He says, personally, this is my favorite Super Mario game of all time. Super Mario Bros. 2 is the best one ever made. It's the only game that is different from all the others, where the story doesn't revolve on rescuing Peach, along with the option of choosing the character you wish to play with, a game with more freedom of choice. I agree with you, Arkdov. I love people who appreciate the weird dumbness of this game. And yeah, it just doesn't feel like any other Mario game. I agree, but look at the difference. I mean, it's like they ended on Super Mario Brothers 3. It's like you took Mario 1 and Mario 2, the best parts of both those games, and you got Mario 3 out of it. And that's my story, and I'll stick to it. We got Bruce here. He says, it is fun, but it is just a reskin, as we already know. I like how you can choose different characters with their own abilities. The music is good and the levels are long. One problem is that the game over sends you all the way back. It is a problem because the game is really hard and long. Good thing that if you do get a game over in the Game Boy Advance remake, you just have to restart the world, not the whole game. So I like that. I like when Nintendo makes slight improvements like that. Like you're not changing the game, but you're just making it a little bit easier. I would appreciate that too if you could game over at the world. I don't even mind if you're on 3-3, you game over, you're back at 3-1, that's fine. But it is a hard trudge back from the beginning. Just because there's a few spots, you know, you can try to bank some free lives and stuff. But is it their World 3? It's some spot, and it's with those flame spitter things. That's just a roadblock for me. I just don't make the throw right, and I can't kill that flame spitter, and then he's walking towards me, and there's nowhere for me to go except into another flame spitter. So I do appreciate the Game Boy Advance comments there. And again, you can't stress enough that choosing different characters and having different abilities for each one is just the icing on the cake of platformers, because it adds that replayability. So a comment here from Benjamin. He says, this game is good, but it's also really weird compared to games after it there where characters are never saw again, except for Shy Guy and Birdo. And it had different mechanics than most Mario games. You use objects and throw them at enemies instead of stomping on them. This game is weird. That's why it's number 5 on my top 10 weirdest games list. I like that. It maybe I'll do a top 10 weirdest games too, and Mario 2 would be on it. But like I said before, I like them weird. I like these just kind of almost screenshots of this time in America, this time in the world, this time in the 80s. All the things that kind of surround this game just kind of all piled together to be like, this is history. This happened, and here's this game. And it's weird. So last comment here from Alessandro says, ever since I was a youngin', I would always play the copy of Super Mario Brothers I robbed from Target. After the fact, I heard there was a Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan, so I killed my grandpa to get the will to go to Japan, and then I mugged a random guy on the plane for the game money. Anyway, when I got the game, I got shot, so I don't like it. So, interesting. That sounds like a weird side quest you went on, Alessandro. The thing, I like funny comments. I don't like that you gave the game 1 star. Not that they're trying to rely on anybody's reviews to sell more copies of Super Mario Brothers 2, but interesting comment. It's an extreme level to go to. You're talking extreme Lost Levels gameplay. Get the one where you have to attack your grandpa to get to Japan. So I think that was Ninja Gaiden 3. That was the plot of that one. Anyway, we're into awards. Let's do it. Award number 1. The I'm All Out of Gum Award. That's going to go to the best character to play as. And, I mean, we're picking from 4. It's tough. Mario is usually my go-to. And I like the fact that Mario is kind of like the average guy here. So I got Mario. Luigi and Peach I do play as sometimes, but I feel like I get too confident with their jumps, and I end up hurting myself. I'm paying more attention to floating and fluttering than I am what enemy I'm going to land into or something. And I like Toad's quick pickup ability. So I really want to give it Mario, but this last go through, I played as Toad, and I'm going to give it to him. He's quick, sometimes like a little too quick. I feel like I'm better with Mario, movement wise, but I just enjoyed playing as Toad. It was just kind of fun to just kind of have this old Toad platformer. Like I said, way before he's screaming at me in Mario Kart and tracking treasures. He's a fun little guy to play around with in Mario 2. Next award is going to be the Expansion Pack Award. It's going to go for the weirdest new feature. I'm kind of tying that in with almost kind of like the best new feature. And it sounds dumb, but my favorite thing about Mario, and it adds on to this Mario legacy, is the ability to pick up items. You're picking up items, you're picking up enemies, and it just adds a whole new mechanic to the game. Eventually, we move on to the other Marios where you bounce on the turtle. Turtle goes in a shell. Now you can hold that shell, throw it at things, in Super Mario 3, and it just it just adds just one more layer to that sweet Mario cake. Just one more mechanic that never goes away. So award number 3 is the Mario's Haunted Piano Award. That's going to go to the scariest part of this game. And if you know me, I already have freaking anxiety. But it's not the Angry Sun in this one. This award's going to Phanto. Everybody hates that mask, that scary guy. He's erratic. You don't know where he's coming from. He does the whole swoop to the right side of the screen, come out of the left side of the screen. So definitely Phanto. Not scary, maybe the anxiety award. But anyway, let's move on to some ratings. Again, we're rating out of 10. We've got gameplay, we got visuals, we got music sound, and we got awesomeness, which is my favorite factor. Let's talk gameplay. It's fun. It's challenging. I wish the game over would game over like the advanced version. But as far as, just having a good time, you're going to get a 7 out of 10. It's just a good platformer. It's just that making it to the end of the game, those end levels, without a game over, it's not tough. This whole thing, you could probably 100% this, in an hour or so if you know where you're going. So 7 out of 10 on gameplay. Visuals, for being a game that wasn't designed to be a Mario game, you're getting an 8 out of 10. You've got some sweet colors. It's great. It's hard to judge since it wasn't designed as a Mario game, but it was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto. So it looks great. And again, this guy knows how to polish a game. Music and sound, you have some iconic music. 2 songs, maybe. But they're iconic. I'm going to give you a 7 out of 10. Those songs, they're stuck in my head. Again, not being designed for Mario. I'm still giving you, higher praise, but trying to critique a little bit. NES Mega Man game, but if you can make an iconic tune that's stuck in my head all week, I'm going to give you a little bit of love. And then the awesomeness factor, she's getting a 9 out of 10. It's Mario 2. We're talking about the Mario trilogy of NES. It is like a gaming staple. It's like earning your stripes. You've got to play through these 3 games. Yes, Mario 3 is my favorite of the NES games, like a lot of people. But Mario 2 is right up there with just a weird, fun game. I love Mario 1, but Mario 1 is still just platform challenge. It doesn't have like a lot of fun factor. Like this just feels fun and silly sometimes. So I like that in my games. It puts you at an 8 out of 10. That's kind of right on the borderline of between ruling and renting it. But I definitely own this game, and it definitely rules. It's a Mario game. How could it not rule? Unless we're talking about Mario is Missing or Mario's Time Machine. Pretty much every Mario game I talk about is going to rule, I think. Even with the no multiplayer, it can still play like a multiplayer. So far as choosing different characters at each turn. Throw this baby in the Game Genie. See what kind of fun codes you have on that one. But it rules. It's Mario 2. We did it. We put it in the books. What other sweet Mario games can we come up with next? What do we want to talk about next week? I'm going to leave some question marks. I'm not sure. I wanted to do some scary games. I've got some ideas, but now I think I want to wait a few weeks until I'm in October and put out, maybe we'll try and do a whole bunch of scary games for October. So I don't know what I'm talking about next week. But I didn't know what I was talking about when I started replaying Minish Cap again. So maybe it'll be a fun surprise game for you guys. Other than that, we're going to wrap it up. This has been a long one. My kids kept interrupting me too, but it's okay. That's parenting, podcasting as a parent with a full house of kids and a lot of stuff to do. But again, here I am for you guys, and we'll keep it going. So thanks for listening to this week's show. Shoot me the messages, thatgamerules@gmail.com. I've got the website. It's there, thatgamerules.com. The newsletter, I mix it around as far as if anyone's signed up for that. As far as what games I'm going to do, but it's pretty standard unless I'm feeling silly, throwing a silly game. But yeah, hit me up on all the socials. Give me some ratings, all the other stuff them podcast hosts ask for. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to try to do some real chores and not go watch the Super Mario Brothers show. But again, we're out of here. Have a good week, and I'll see you on the next one.